let's review a couple ways that we can solve tough multiplication using different methods. So my preferred method is distribution. And distribution basically says that a times b plus c is equal to a times b plus a times c. And what that would mean in this situation is 35 times 10 plus 7, I like to break up the tens in the units place, is equal to 35 times 10 plus 35 times 7. And 35 times 10 is 350, and 35 times 7 is kind of tough as well, so maybe I'll break that up and say this is the same as 7 times 35, so it's the same as 7 times 30 plus 7 times 5. Because order doesn't matter in multiplication, you could say that this was really 7 times 35 instead of 35 times 7. Now 7 times 3 is 21, and there's a 0 on the end, so it's 210, 7 times 30, and 7 times 5 is 35. And now if we add these all together, we will get our solution. So we have 350 plus 210 plus 35, which is going to give us 595. So 35 times 17 is 595. And I always like to ballpark things to make sure that my number makes sense. If we had 35 times 20, 35 times 2 is 70, so 35 times 20 would be 700. So we're a little short of 700. And this is another way that you can do difficult multiplication. So if you know 35 times 20 is equal to 700, 35 times 17 is the same as 35 times 20 minus 3, which is going to equal 35 times 20 minus 35 times 3. And 35 times 3 times 5 is 15, 3 times 30 is 90, which gives me 105. So I end up with 700, as we said, minus 105, which equals 595 as well. So two slightly different methods for doing this calculation. Now, this number here looks pretty rough, but if we break it up into 234 times 20 plus 234 times 3, we can make our lives a lot easier. So when you're multiplying by 2, if all of these numbers are small enough that they won't reach over 10 when doubled, you can simply just double each of them. So we get 468, and then we have that 0 on the end as well. Now, if one of these ended up being 12, if we had like a 6 in here, then we'd have to worry about carrying over to the tens place the additional 1 from the 12 that we would solve for there. But that wasn't the case here, so we didn't have to worry about it. Now we have 234 times 3. This is the same as 200 times 3 plus 30 times 3 plus 4 times 3. And this is going to end up equaling 12, 90, and 600, giving us 600 plus 90 is 690, plus 12 is 702. So we end up with 702 plus 4680. Make sure you always line up your spaces properly. 6 plus 7 is 13, carry the 1. That gives us 5,382, and that is the solution that we expect to get here. Basically something slightly bigger than times 20. And if you ballpark it, 4,600 or 4,700 plus 700 would be about 5,400. So that is in line with our expectation, the 5,382. So a couple different ways to solve difficult multiplication. Distribution is your best friend. Being able to break up numbers into the addition of two different simpler numbers and then multiply each of those components and then add them together at the end can be a lot simpler than just doing the numbers out the way that most of us have been taught, which is 35 times 17 and doing 5 times 7, 30 times 7, 10 times 5, and 30 times 10, even though it is technically the same methodology, just expressed differently.